Boom. All right. Sorry about that. I was just tweeting out the link for now. Excuse me, sir. This is not a onesie. I know it's not a onesie. It was. I woke up in it. I didn't want to wear it again for reasons that are not to be said. Okay. Thank you for coming to another live stream because we're all kind of locked in and quarantined and I don't know what to do. So I'm just sitting in front of a camera and talking about stuff. Appreciate you letting me rant about things today. Today we're gonna go with Vivarium, a film that came out this week. We're gonna go with Uncorked, a Netflix film that came out this week. Also, some things I don't want to say like, I mean like not in a negative way, but like noticed about how the industry is shifting in today's current state. And yeah, and then questions based on I don't know what we're talking about and whatever you guys want to ask me. Been watching things, been doing things. I don't know. What do you guys want to know? Hit me up in the live stream if you want to ask a particular question. Very glad you're not wearing the onesie, to be honest. That thing was abused last night. It wasn't. Oh, yeah, it was abused. Anyway, let's start with. Let's go with Vivarium. So, movies are still coming out. I think that's the thing that everyone cannot forget right now. Especially direct to video films where, yes, movie theaters are closed down. We're not going to the movies anymore. Don't go to the movies. Don't be a dummy. It's easy stuff. But you can still go on video on demand and things are still happening. So I want to point out, especially number one, Lorcan Finnegan's Vivarium, a film that did not work for me, but might work for you. I don't know. It's possible. Definitely didn't benefit from the fact that we are living in quote unquote bleaker times or whatever you want to call them. Like we're all stuck in, we're all dealing with our own minds, I guess we would say. And Vivarium is very much Lorcan Finnegan's working through his own personal issues with life. Blatantly, not subtle, in your face. It's sci-fi. It's very much here's a row of houses and a family that lives in the house, and they have to deal with themselves becoming parents and dealing with adulthood and doing things of that nature. So maybe things that we're dealing with as ourselves going into this. I don't know, possibly, who knows? But in the sense that Lorcan Finnegan has big ideas, he definitely is scared of things, and he's very honest about that. He's very forthcoming in the film. It's also to a fault leaning on a lot of tropes that we've seen before. It's also to a fault leaning on overt messaging that hits you with the bleakness over your head over and over again. And it doesn't stop. And that's fine. I like cynicism in my movies. I'm not looking for a happy ending at all times, and that's totally cool. But in the way that Vivarium handles it, no spoilers. I'm not going to go into what it is because I think you should all try it for yourself and see if it works. But again, in the way that Vivarium handles it, there's no payoff. We see the payoff coming 20 minutes, 30 minutes before the movie even ends. Honestly, 45, maybe 50 minutes. So this is not a long movie. It's about 90 minutes, and you know what's happening halfway through it. Again, he's trying something big. He's trying something bold, and I get that. But in the same time that he's trying something big and trying something bold, the overall message never becomes big and bold. Mortality is something we all deal with. Not to be like weird and heavy about it, but like mortality is real. Mortality is a thing that we all know. And his way of conveying his own issues and fears and paranoias about mortality never go above and beyond. And that's what this film tries to do very hard. Vivarium tries very hard to go above and beyond, and it is just basic. You have Imogen Poots and you have Jesse Eisenberg as a couple, and that's it. And they get a baby at their doorstep, a doorstep that they've become trapped in. And that's the film. It's just them dealing with becoming parents too early. It's them dealing with adulthood in a way that they're forced into. And it's them dealing with the American system and happiness in a way that they didn't want to. Which, again, not my favorite. So I don't know. I don't want to go into it super heavy. I don't want to go into spoiler territory because try it, see it. It's 90 minutes. It's not big ask for most people. But in the same respect, I've seen this 1,000 times before. I've had my own thoughts about this 1,000 times before. And where I want a film to challenge me, and where I want a film to actually take me places that I've never gone before and have to be like thrust into, I don't think Vivarium does that. So that's a new release. That's Vivarium. That's a thing you can try. I'm going to look over to the chat really quickly and see. Hi, Raphael. Thank you. You must keep the hairstyle from now on. Never ever think of changing it. Yeah. K-pop boy band member for life. So this is just going to be it. This is these are the things I'm going to get, aren't I? Just hair things. This is quarantine hair. I can't help this. It could be worse. You could look like Phil. Yes. For those who don't know, for the 6 of you watching, thank you for the 6 of you watching. Phil Nobile, however you pronounce it, got a haircut from his wife. I don't have such means in my life right now, so this is just gonna grow up. I'm not. Hi, Bryony. No, I'm not shaving it. No, that's just no. It's not happening. Not at all. This is emo Donato, and you're stuck with it, and this is how it's gonna be for a while. I mean, this is what, week 2? Emo Donato is gonna be legitimately, give it like another month, I could be in like a Taking Back Sunday fucking cover band. This is where we're going. Actual question: did you like Lorcan Finnegan's Without Name? Yes, and I would like. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I did like Lorcan Finnegan's Without Name enough. I'm not gonna say I loved it. I think Without Name. So I'm gonna go back even before Without Name really quickly. I think it was 2013, and I was at the New York City Horror Film Festival, and there was a short called Foxes, directed by Lorcan Finnegan. Written and directed, I apologize. And 2013 blew me away. So it's a 15-minute short, basically, that deals with the same kind of, again, like frustrations and anger and the things that he sees about society that he doesn't want to keep happening. Let's just put it that way. He plays with that in Foxes in a way that's way better than anything he does in Vivarium. And Foxes does the housing unit gimmick, we'll call it. It does all these things he's playing with in Vivarium, but it also goes at it from a sense of primality, and it goes at it from a sense of like animal nature. And basically he uses the foxes and these two characters. Again, it's just a husband and wife, and they're in this housing complex. The husband is just devoted to the grind, and the wife wants a life that's more ambitious. And she starts looking at these foxes that are just outside eating garbage, and their story becomes intertwined. And in 15 minutes, he develops so much more character and so much more angst and existential fear. And he says so much more in those 15 minutes than he does through the entirety of Vivarium. And that was my big kind of like takeaway point. But then going back to Without Name, I liked Without Name. I liked it enough. I'm weird when it comes to style over substance. I'm not a huge Oz Perkins fan. So when you talk about things like Blackcoat's Daughter, and I mean, even Gretel and Hansel that just came out, it's fine with me. You really have to have a lot of style if you're not going to have that much substance. So I think Without Name plays on that line a lot. I think Without Name gets with the psychedelic, it gets with those tropes, and it gets with a creative storytelling method of a very generic story. And that's where I kind of land on Without Name. I like it more than Vivarium. Vivarium really just left me cold and jaded and bitter, and I get enough of that in my real life. I don't need that in my movies at certain times. So Vivarium really just left me kind of feeling nothing, and I wanted to feel a lot more from a film that had so much to say about society and social standards and what we kind of go into. Going into the chat really quickly, flick it. All right, fine. There you go. There's a hair flip. Have fun with that. Wow, can't type. Foxes is great. Yes, Foxes is very great. Mahalo Mike, thank you for tuning in from New York. You and I were foxes eating garbage in Brooklyn. Yes, we were. I have no comment from that. We ate a lot of garbage, so that's very on point on that. So I'm going to keep moving on from Vivarium and from the fact that I really liked Imogen Poots. Jesse Eisenberg has nothing to do. Kind of boring, kind of lame. And that's about all there is to it. There's a screaming demon child, blah, whatever. Vivarium, done. If you have more questions about that, go with it. So the next thing I want to dive into really quickly is Uncorked, which is a new Netflix release this week. You can stream it. You can watch it. It's fantastic. It's starring a large cast. And again, I don't want to take away from the lead actor, Mamadou Athey, but Courtney B. Vance and Niecy Nash are phenomenal as a husband and wife who own a barbecue joint in Memphis. So immediately you have a movie about barbecue, which foodie, love food. It's kind of my life. So I dive right into that. And then they have a son, and he wants to be a sommelier. So now you have the salt of the earth family who wants their son to take over the barbecue joint. And you have the, we'll call him high class, I guess I would say, son who wants to become a sommelier. And immediately you have it's not an argument. I mean, it's definitely some tension between the family, and you have the sense that, the son wants to go this higher route, and the family wants him to stay homey and stay in that realm. And it's expected. It's an expected story about finding yourself, and it's an expected story about finding yourself, especially in a family unit that predetermines what your life will be. I've seen that 1,000 times over in films. Every film festival has 20 movies alone with that same plot. But when you watch a movie like Uncorked that has a unique way of telling that story, and it's ingrained in the Memphis style storytelling, it's ingrained in the actual inherent, first, again, we'll go with frustrations of a son who wants to do what he wants to do, but he can't because his family wants him to go on this certain track. And it's very well acted. It's very well thought out. It plays out exactly as you would expect, telegraphed 100%, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's still powerful in the way it tells that story. I liked Uncorked. I think Uncorked is well worth, again, like a 90-minute watch. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing hard. Easy to digest, easy to take down. But it's barbecue, and I can't help that. And I keep going back to that little sentiment. And I love food movies, and food translates in a way with passion to me that it's easy to convey how passionate you are about something when you're talking about culinary arts, and even when you get into wine and food, and drink and beverage. So it works well within the food and beverage industry to show how passionate you can be about something. And it shows how much you are willing to push yourself if you really want to take that leap and take that kind of like next step in your life. And that connected with me. It worked. It hit me on a level that maybe I understand at this point in my life. And for that kind of storytelling, it could have been basic bitch. It could have been something I turn off in 20 minutes and not think about, half an hour afterwards. But I ended up watching the whole thing and enjoying it and really digging into it. So I think Uncorked for me, 100%, is well worth the watch. It's well worth the stream. We all have Netflix. We all have nothing to do. Watch Uncorked. Mahalo Mike, what is your favorite food movie? I tweeted about that right after I watched Uncorked. Great question. My favorite food movie, personally for me, because I have a personal connection to it, is going to be Jon Favreau's Chef. I watched it. I want to say it was my first South by Southwest. I want to say it was my first festival I ever went to that I had to travel for. I did a few New York festivals, the New York City Horror Film Festival that I referenced where I saw Foxes. That was all easy. I could just walk down the street and do it. That first South by Southwest was my first festival that I actually put myself out there. I paid for my flights. I did everything myself. And I went to this crazy big event that was way bigger than anything I could expect. I had no idea what to do. And I was there to cover a bunch of films, and I had no idea how to do it. And the opening night movie, I want to say, was Chef. And you watch something that is made with such passion and love from a director who is so sick of like playing by the rules, I guess we'll say. He's so sick of playing in a studio system because Jon Favreau just come off of, he did Cowboys and Aliens, he did the Marvel stuff, and Chef was getting back to his roots. It was getting back to what he loved to do. This little indie movie about doing everything yourself and picking yourself up from the bootstraps and being like, fuck the critics. And I know I say that being a critic, which is so weird to me because it's definitely an anti-critic film in certain ways. But again, it's also how we get caught up in how we perceive ourselves based on other people's words. And Chef spoke to me in so many ways through the way that Jon Favreau's character handles food, and cooks food, and works with food. And the product that he puts out after that, it doesn't matter what he's doing, but because he's loving it, and what he sees in people's faces when he just hands them a Cuban sandwich, which is just home comfort and something that he's prepared with love. Boom. I mean, that's it for me. That's 100% it for me. So yeah, I think Chef, favorite food movie. As of this point, I have lots of favorite food moments in movies. There have been some great ones this year alone. The panna cotta is the message. Go watch The Platform on Netflix as well. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with Chef as my favorite food movie. Thank you, Mahalo Mike. Good dude. Mr. Chris Cooper, Demon Wind. You just said Demon Wind. I don't know what to do with that. Do you want me to talk about Demon Wind? Do you want me to tell you all again that I love Demon Wind? Because it's the best. It's on Shudder. Just go watch it. It's not hard. Just turn on Shudder and put on Demon Wind again for the 1,000th time because it's worth it. And you deserve it in this trying time. That's where I'm going with Demon Wind. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to go with is an interesting thing just going on. Alicia Grasso. Wait, hold on. I'll dive right back in really quickly. Is a director who takes a long time between films or who has a relatively short filmography you wish would put out more work? Yeah, this is easy. Sean Byrne, who did The Loved Ones and The Devil's Candy. And those are the only two movies he's ever done. So The Loved Ones is phenomenal. It's basically just a high school prom scenario, except the prom queen is a girl who lives with her father, and the father kidnaps her prom king, and it's how she toys with him and tortures him the whole way. Beautiful. Amazing. Acting. Out of this world. Just watch The Loved Ones. It's one of my favorite horror movies probably in the last decade or two. And then he takes 7 years to make The Devil's Candy, starring Ethan Embry. Heavy metal horror film about a father, daughter, and there's other people in the scenario, but it's really the father-daughter relationship. And he's an artist, and he becomes overtaken by a presence in his new house. And it plays into this cherry red flying V guitar that is used in such an amazing way in the soundtrack and film, and also in his artwork that starts becoming very fucked up. It's just the best way to say it. It becomes very fucked up. So I love that movie. Two movies that I adored greatly, but again, 7 years between, and those are the only two movies he's made. And I think The Devil's Candy was 2015. So that goes back 5 years at this point, and it took about 2 or 3 years to even get distribution because the whoever wrote the soundtrack at the time wanted a ton more royalties than they agreed to, and they had to hash all that out. So that was a whole behind the scenes thing. It took 3 years even to come out, and we haven't had a movie from Sean Byrne since The Devil's Candy. So that is my very easy answer, because two of my recent favorite horror films of the last how many years are from the same person, and his output is only once every 7 years to this point. Absolutely tragic. Absolutely. I get the fact that he wants to hone his craft and do what he does right, and I can't argue when your output is The Devil's Candy and The Loved Ones, but in the same respect, we have been robbed. We have been robbed of so many great horror movies, I believe, that he could have directed, even if he doesn't write them, even if he's doing someone else's screenplay. His vision as a director could have elevated so many other films that I watch. I mean, I'm watching 3 to 4 indie horror films a week. That adds up. You watch a lot of horror when you're doing that. And when you think about someone like Sean Byrne that's only made 2 films, and you've seen someone on the indie circuit who's made effing 3 movies for the last 10 years. Yeah, it doesn't add up. Don't love it. Absolutely don't love to see that. Don't love to hear that. You hate to see it, in fact. So Sean Byrne's my answer for that. That's pretty much an easy one. Yeah, absolutely love The Loved Ones. Absolutely ace. It is ace. It's fantastic. Devil's Candy slaps, 100%. Devil's Candy, Sun O, I believe they're called. They do the gothic choral kind of metal horror that is the soundtrack, and they weren't the ones that were the issue, I don't believe. But in any case, that soundtrack, I missed the vinyl press of it, and I really want to own the vinyl press of it because holy crap, that is good stuff. So, but yeah, moving on from the Devil's Candy and all that stuff. A weird thing I noticed recently, and just addressing the times that we're in, and the fact that yes, big movies in general, not even talking about horror, just big movies have all vacated their April slots. They vacated their March slots. We're not going to theaters because why would we go to theaters again? Don't be a dummy. Stay inside. We're all doing the right thing here. In that sense, I'm seeing a sense that everyone's kind of forgetting that other movies are coming out. And I don't mean that to be pretentious. I totally get it. VOD horror, or VOD movies in general, have their own preconceptions. If something's not coming in theaters, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? A lot of the times, yeah, it's kind of not worth it. I see a ton of crap on VOD because it's easy to throw something on VOD where it is to get it into a theater. But in the same sense, I want to use Vivarium again, a movie that I didn't love, but still is out there. And it kind of sucks when I go on Rotten Tomatoes. And the way that I used to track my horror films that's coming out every week is I would go on Rotten Tomatoes and there was a tab on the left side and it always said opening in theaters and coming soon. So I could click on opening in theaters and every single movie that was coming out, theaters or not, I know it said opening in theaters or not, it was still there. So something like Vivarium that you can still go on VOD and watch and you can still go find and still give money to is not existent anymore because they've replaced the Rotten Tomatoes homepage with now streaming and classic streaming. I get it. This is a bigger conversation beyond the fact that Rotten Tomatoes is its own business. They have to stay in business as a business. It's corporate stuff. I work in corporate during the day. I understand this. And right now streaming is hot because everyone's home. No one's going to a theater. Everyone wants to know what they can watch immediately and watch online and find. So yeah, I want to know where I can watch Jurassic Park immediately. That's cool. That's dope. That's awesome. I want to know that Jurassic Park is on Netflix, XYZ. And that's a really nice thing to remind people, hey, classic movies exist as well. And I know we can go more classic than Jurassic Park. Apologies for the example. But just using that immediately, there is also this really quick reaction where it's kind of like, okay, I went on Rotten Tomatoes, and instead of them promoting something like Vivarium that could really use the help, it's a small indie movie that now has been robbed of its limited release, and it's just coming out on VOD, and you can't even find it on the homepage anymore because that's all gone. I don't know. We're in this really weird time, and it makes me a little nervous about how the indie distribution scale will work as it is now. Because I kind of thought it would almost have a benefit at this point. I kind of thought the idea that Birds of Prey already came out in theaters and it had its time to be publicly promoted immediately, and now it's getting front placement again on websites because it is Birds of Prey, because it is mainstream and that's the movie everyone wants to talk about and it's now streaming. Again, I get that. I understand it. You have to do what you have to do and you have to stay in the mentality and the talk of what's happening online. But I don't know. I just kind of think that at this point there should be more talk about the films that we can still help and we can still promote and we can still help cinema grow as it is. And I know I'm talking about this with movies like Butt Boy and like, yeah, Butt Boy's coming out on VOD. I know that's a weird thing to say, that we should kind of be noticing this and helping this and putting this out there. But in the same sense, I really do believe that this is a time to take a step back from, okay, a bunch of slots are now vacated. You know, Disney pulls all their films, WB pulls their films. You know, The Loved Ones gets sold to Netflix. We're now in the streaming talks as well. But we can also use this time to look at the indie world and say, hey, wait, there are all these VOD films that were going to come out anyway that we would have kind of ignored. But now is the kind of time to remind everyone, hey, these films do exist and they're going to keep existing and we can keep promoting new cinema. I don't know. It's very weird to me in the sense that the conversation is shifting away from the fact that new films are still coming out versus, oh, all the big films are gone and we don't have anything to talk about anymore. Because we do. We have a ton to talk about. I could talk about Vivarium in depth for 2 more hours if I wanted to. Not that you want to hear that. Not that you should want to hear that. It would be boring to everyone because I have my own thoughts and stuff like that. But it still exists, and the conversation can still be had. And yet, to find Vivarium even on Rotten Tomatoes, going on the website, the fact that that left banner is gone and the fact that that left banner is not even available anymore, it's being robbed of placement in people's eyes. Not that they would have even had it immediately, but if you click on that what's coming out this week and you just happen to wander over there and you happen to be scrolling through films that are coming out this week and go, oh wait, this Vivarium film seems kind of interesting. Oh, look, it's coming out on VOD. I don't know. We're just being robbed of that, and now we're going right back to the fact that, like, oh, all these other films exist. Don't worry about the ones that are coming out. I don't know. It's that's a thought I had, that this is the idea that I keep kicking around, and it's something I would love to explore even more and talk about how, indie films are going to survive this lull, we'll call it, for however long it's going to be, just as much as the big films are. I mean, we know the issues with AMC theaters that's going to happen. We know the issues with these big theater chains that are now closing. We know the issues with studios that aren't getting their films released, that they spent $120 million on, and all of a sudden that gets pushed a year, and the snowball is rolling there. But I don't know, there's this other side of the conversation that a lot of people aren't having, and I would love to have that more, because now is the time that we can champion the little films. Now is the time that we have the time to champion the little films. I hope we do. I don't know. I just rambled. I hope that actually made sense, but that is just things that have been kicking around my head. Going to the chat really super quickly. Amelia, gonna send Kayla a clip of Buttboy name drop. She'll be elated. Yeah, I know. Love Kayla. She is our PR guru. She is the person that we talk to all the time, and she's repping Buttboy. And I'm gonna watch it tonight, straight up. I mean, I have the time to do that now. I'm in a unique position where, as a critic, I don't have a bunch of screenings anymore. I don't have any screenings, to be honest with you, because they're gone and I'm not leaving my house. So why kind of would I not take all these smaller films and still write? I mean, I still write about films that are releasing. That's kind of my opinion on it. Alicia, the trick is getting people with no deep film experience interested in something that's not a big IP. Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to get across too. Because I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Why should anyone care about Buttboy? Because it's Buttboy. It's this rando, oddball, quirky film that I woke up in Fantastic Fest last year, and there was a giant butt cake on the kitchen table with a TV remote stuffed into the butt. That's Buttboy. Like, that's my only way of describing Buttboy in its entirety, and it's everything you think that the title suggests. So why would anyone who is looking for a movie like Birds of Prey, or just go on anything that was slated to release at this point and now is not, even something like The New Mutants, poor The New Mutants, the X-Men film that was straight up horror, that's been delayed like 3 times, should have come out like 2 years ago, and it was finally going to come out this April. It was like my birthday release. I was going to go on my birthday and watch The New Mutants, and I was so happy. And it's just doomed forever. It's doomed never to come out, and it has been delayed once again, but 100%. The New Mutants is the crux of a kind of film that everyone's like, all right, we finally get to see it. And now that gets pushed, and everyone kind of goes, all right, well, nothing else is coming out now. So the issue is 100%, how do us writers and us journalists find a way to make something like Buttboy approachable to the mainstream audience? How do we find something like Buttboy and make it New Mutants-able? It's such a weird thing to say. And I don't know if there's an answer to that, because the larger issue even there is I can't get paid the same way I can write about Buttboy that I can getting paid writing about mainstream cinema. It just doesn't get the clicks. It's not worth it to websites that want and need the clicks and need the exposure of big stream titles versus a Buttboy. I'm going to keep saying Buttboy because it's just fun to see. I think that's such a larger problem. and there's no immediate answer. I can tell you that there's no way to do any of that because I pitched even my like little Rotten Tomatoes idea, and an editor immediately was like, "This is a great pitch. I would love to have you write this for the website, but I can't because we don't have money anymore." Because this is hitting everybody. This whole situation we're in, it's not even that we are not writing about it because we don't want to. We're not writing about the little things because we can't. Because I can't even write about the big things right now. So yeah, that is a huge issue, and I don't know how we get past that. Hold on, I'm taking a drink really quickly while I look at the chat. New Mutants is a hoax. It doesn't exist. I am convinced of this. I am so mad about the New Mutants because after all the pushback, after everything about how it was reshot, they added new characters, they put more horror in, they put less horror in. There were like a billion things that were teased about this damn movie and how much they redid on it. The movie they were going to release this April was Boone's original cut. The actual director finally fought and got his original cut approved after all of this damn arguing and shit. And we were finally going to get it. And now we don't. So, like, I'm so mad about that. I wanted to see the Boone cut so bad. The Boone cut exists. We finally were going to get it. And now it's gone. It's gone forever. It's never going to come out. Amelia, it's a double feature with Gambit. Yeah, I mean, they never made Gambit, though, did they? Gambit never happened. The New Mutants exists. We know that film exists. It's there. I want it in person. I want to see it and devour it. Pitch idea. Top X movies that gaslit audiences. All right. That's a lot of movies. X movies that don't exist, that Hollywood has convinced us to. I mean, right now, Hollywood can convince us anything exists and just say it got pushed by Corona. So that's kind of where we live at this point. I can't really get around that. It actually would be a really good marketing tactic at this point. You could just say anything exists. I don't know it. The larger issue at this point is I really wish we could depend on and fall back on indie cinema to help us through this time. And I would love if movies, I watched, even this week alone, I watched things like Behind You is a movie about a little girl that summons a demon in a mirror. So basic. It is the most basic shit I've ever seen. But it's also cleanly shot. It's also serviceably done. And I say serviceably not in the negative connotation. It's a serviceable horror film. I watch it and I go, oh wow, like I got my jolts, I got my scares. It's not the best movie I've ever seen, but it's perfectly acted. It's cleanly shot. Cinematography's great. There's some great reds. Every time this little girl goes into the basement, she gets soaked in these reds for some reason. Reds, for those of you who don't know, are red color filters that I adore. But it's a film that I look at and I go, that was fine for a Friday night. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I can watch that and I can be happy. And yet it's gonna get no attention again because no one's now paying attention to movies. Everyone thinks that movies are dead. Everything thinks that movies are gone. And that sucks. It sucks a little bit. And again, I get it. I have a business background. I know why sites like Rotten Tomatoes are now going streaming because that's where all the hits are. Everyone wants to know what's on Hulu. Everyone wants to know what's on Amazon Prime. They don't want to search through things. They want to have a list of movies they can watch. I fucking get it. Man, it just kind of sucks a little bit. Chris Cooper. What is worse, not being able to do your job or having to watch Verotica every day for a year? Having to watch Verotica every day for a fucking week. That is the worst movie I've seen in, I want to say, like, years? I know this, So Bad It's Good has become my vibe. So Bad It's Good has become who I am. I promote these films like Tammy the T-Rex and Demon Wind, and these are fun movies to watch. You can get people together, order a pizza, get a 30 rack of Natty Light, and just have a night, man. Those are good movies to do that too. Verotica is garbage. Verotica is Glenn Danzig's fucking wet dream in cinema form, and it's just naked chicks for 90 minutes with an incoherent anthology story. And honestly, it was shot with a budget that, like, I could have put up myself. I even right now, with the money I'm saving in this quarantine and not going out, I could have probably shot a better film than Verotika. I'll put that out there. I'm fine with that. I'm fine saying that. It is unthinkably terrible. That's, yeah, no. That's exactly where I can't even talk about it anymore. Like, it's 3 segments. You get the first segment that's about this spider dude, and they couldn't even get a real spider. Like, the spider was a shit CGI little, like, doop. No, bad, just bad. Then she had, like, eyes on her tits, and shit got weird. I'm not talking about Verotika, because I effing hated it. Let's go right back to the chat. Any chance of getting an Indie Rex segment that... of the should when it continues. Yeah, I can do an Indie Rex every week. Just kind of talk about what's coming out in VOD. That's kind of what I wanted to do, just even talking about quickly Vivarium and Uncorked, where I didn't like Vivarium, but I think you should try it. Uncorked, 100% gets buried on Netflix because Netflix has 30 million things coming out this week because it has 30 million things coming out every week. So, I would love to keep recommending indie things and keeping things of this nature as it's going. Verotika left me feeling really confused that Danzig couldn't get a better crew together. So I got really scared when I saw the producer, and I don't want to be an asshole about it, but the producer who backed this film is very known for doing really hack job films. So I came into this having that knowledge, and I wasn't expecting a lot from it, and it still didn't even deliver there. Like, the fact that the effects... they look terrible. Like Anya Stanley, who some of us know on Twitter, like, her son could have done better practical effects, and he's like 6, and he does practical effects. That's what he loves. He loves doing it. He's gonna be the next Tom Savini, and his effects work was probably better than the stuff that I saw in Verotika. Horribly acted, horribly put together. Fuck that movie. Verotika left me disgusted by the time Yeah, it was a waste of time, 100%, Danny. It was a waste of time. Doesn't even comprehend what I felt after that. And I'm just going to keep shaking my fists because I don't know what to do anymore. Chris Cooper, I agree, but glad you explained it for others. Yeah, it's something I would rather rant about for 3 hours than have someone sit through 90 minutes of that shit again. Just absolutely terrible. Mahalo Mike, all right, this is going to be terrible. I love Mahalo. This is going to be a weird question because he's my friend and he is just trying to fuck with me right now. In 1995, Leanna Quigley starred as Bambi in the blockbuster movie Assault of the Party Nerds 2, The Heavy Petting Detective. If you were to choose another A-list actress to play Bambi, who? Mike, great question. Thank you for asking. Pleasure to have you here. I don't really want to answer that question, but I have nothing else to do. Holy shit, it's 1:15 already? All right, cool. I don't know. If I had to choose someone to play Bambi, Toni Collette, really just great actress. Think she could do a lot with the role, and I'd want to see her in more stuff. So let's just move on from that. Alicia, Gwen could do better. Again, the people that... there's 11 people here. That's interesting. People that are here, Brad McCargan, Becky Sayers... love them both dearly, and Becky's daughter Gwen, fantastic little rambunctious child who, could do better effects than what I saw in Verotika. And a lot of people are talking right now that Verotika is the so bad it's good movie you have to see to believe. You don't. I pitched it. I pitched an article about why Verotika is not that film, and then I took it back because, I don't want to shit a movie that's just terrible for the sake of being terrible. But I keep seeing major sites talking about Verotika like it's the next big cult classic. And I think there's a big disconnect in the fact that a bad movie is not immediately a cult classic. A bad movie is just a bad movie. There are cult classics. There are films that are intentionally bad. If you want an intentionally bad film that's going to make you laugh in the way that you think Verotika will, go watch Dude Bro Party Massacre 3. The 5-second film guys, if you know them on YouTube, they made this slasher homage that was intentionally filmed as a made-for-TV 80s slasher sequel, and they filmed it with the fake commercials. They did all this, the legwork. There's the tracking fuzz and all this stuff, and it's funny, and they understand what makes a bad movie fun to enjoy, because they didn't set out to make a bad movie. They set out to make an intentionally stupid and silly and goofy film. Verotika is just bad. Verotika is just dog crap. And I don't want to keep harping on it, but I keep seeing Verotika stuff in the chat, so I keep getting back into that. Amelia, is there a non-horror film you'd like to see a horror spin on in the future when the world stops being closed? That's a good question that I could probably save for next week, but I feel like there are so many films that are inherently creepy that we don't think about, and none are coming to my mind immediately. Mahalo Mike, Gump, that, yeah, all right, Forrest Gump, sure, let's get that horror take on Forrest Gump. But I think immediately, weirdly enough, I go to like romantic films and like romantic comedies that play the romance itself as so effing creepy. And if you just do a spin on it where it's not shown in this like really happy light and then this really kind of jovial and over Hollywoodized romanced angle, it becomes a horror movie really quick. It becomes a horror movie immediately. So I'm gonna go with like a romantic comedy. I don't have one off the top of my head, but turn that and all of a sudden it becomes like a stalker movie. It's right there. It's right there for all of us to take. Mahalo Mike, Amelia, 100%. Raphael, dude bro, of course I'm always gonna drop the dude bro. I had the dude bro tank top on yesterday. I got the cavity colors going. Mahalo Mike, life is like a box of severed heads. I don't have anything to say off of that. That's we've gone with the Forrest Gump theme. We've gone with the Forrest Gump horror. That's where we actually are now. So I've been talking for 45 minutes, apparently. I had no idea. And that is the weird thing about live streams. I hope that's been kind of helpful in some ways. And I've talked about things that you guys want to hear. I guess I'll keep this going for another like 15 minutes. If you guys have questions that you want to throw at me, anything you want me to ask, that's cool. Or if you just want to talk about like what you're streaming at this point, because I'm not just streaming new movies either. I'm stuck in my house working 24/7 at this point. So I've been putting things on in the background, and I've been, oddly enough for me, food TV shows and especially food competition shows have been my go-to. MasterChef just keeps me fueled. It keeps me going. Put that in the background and you get a bunch of like home cooks getting like the opportunity of a lifetime. That's kind of been my go-to. I've been having a lot of fun with that. So, I mean, I feel like we're all streaming stuff that we never would watch anyway, and that we have the opportunity to, and we have the time to. I mean, for me especially, Breaking Bad, I've never seen a single episode of, and I think at this time in my life, I think this is the time to actually watch Breaking Bad finally. I've never seen any of the spin-offs. I've never seen anything of the original show. So, streaming is weird right now. We're gonna come out of this with a much bigger knowledge and like a greater depth of knowledge about cinema. Let's go with Ryan Larson. If you could make a musical out of one horror movie, what would it be outside of Demon Wind? Very fantastic, Ryan, because it would be Demon Wind immediately. How do you not have the magician singing a song? But if we're gonna go, okay, so a horror movie that could be a musical, that's not. I'm gonna go with, so this is fun because I have so many films, kind of like even bringing up The Devil's Candy again. If you actually put the musical element into it, that would be a banger heavy metal horror film with the musical twist. Thinking about Stage Fright, it works in the narrative. Thinking about Suck, it works in the narrative. So thinking about films that actually work in the narrative with it. I mean, oh shit, like even, I'm thinking about the lore now, of course. Now I'm thinking of actual musicals, but oh man. I want to go with The Devil's Candy. I want to stay with that because if I think about how you could take The Devil's Candy and you could take the choral, it's honestly, this is like Georgian chanting over heavy metal riffage, but like doom metal, not like aggressive metal. It's this really doomy metal stuff. Go all out, make that a musical. I would be so in on that. I would be so in on The Devil's Candy. And that I'm gonna go with that in my answer. Alicia, are you finally gonna watch Game of Thrones? No, just to piss Trace off, because Trace Thurman, who writes for Blade Disgusting, gets so mad every time I I say I'm watching something besides Game of Thrones and catching up on it. So I'm just going to keep that going and just piss him off 100%. That's my answer. Bryony, hey, what's up? Under Arrest on Netflix is good. Another cop show. Dope. All right. I got more cop shows to watch. Let's go ahead. Go watch Under Arrest. Mahalo Mike, would Meatloaf do the Demon Wind soundtrack? These are the questions that someone needs to ask, Mike, and I'm happy that you are. I think he would. I think Meatloaf would be a great choice for the Demon Wind soundtrack because, number one, I mean, it's Meatloaf. He's just a legend. Bat Out of Hell. I've got the vinyl release of it, and I've almost worn it out, and I've had it like 2 months. So Meatloaf would be any horror film, any horror musical. You got to get Meatloaf in there. Ryan Larson, respect to the answer. Legit would. Ooh, Bride of Chucky lends itself. So now you're speaking my language because I love my Bride of Chucky. It's just 100% what I do, what I love. And I think it's one of my favorite slasher sequels, also slasher films. And I agree. There would be some killer musical numbers between Tiff and Chucky because you already have them working the Martha Stewart angle and you have the homie angle. And then you go to the natural born killers part of it where they're also just murderers and slaying people as they go. I think Bride of Chucky would be amazing. That's a great call out. I'm going 100% on that one. Alicia, I recommend Castlevania for you. I really honestly, yeah, Castlevania's been on my list. It's a growing list by the day because I have a ton of time now and things to watch, but I still can't keep up. That's the thing. I have so much time in the day now where I'm working and I have to be focused on my computer, but I can still have something on in the background. So I'm trying to find shows that I can actually watch and kind of pay attention to and do that. Castlevania is one of those. So Castlevania is 100% on my list. That's what I'm going to go with next time I honestly have the chance. And again, the things I'm streaming at this point, like I want to watch things because I want to catch up on them. But at the same time, like I just said, like I'm working my day job, I'm writing, I'm, like even yesterday, Friday, I started an article on video game horror and I started watching through like old video game horror movies and adaptations and seeing how they're going. And I still can't like digest it the same way as I'm like pounding words out and like watching a movie in the back. Like I watched Fatal Frame this morning. There was this Japanese film, Sweet Home, I watched for the first time on Friday. I rewatched Resident Evil Apocalypse, which is the best Resident Evil movie because it is, and you're wrong if you think otherwise. But I when I'm watching those, I'm still not digesting them in the same way I would. So that's also the issue I'm having where I have all this time to stream stuff, but I want to like give it the attention it deserves. And I can't do that when I'm like working and things of that nature. So I might have to save Castlevania and things of that nature for when I can actually give it the attention it deserves, I guess I would say. Because at this point, like I said, MasterChef, great. Throw it on, look over every once in a while, and I got a new dish I'm looking at. I got Gordon Ramsay yelling at somebody, calling him a donut in his English accent. It's great. Fantastic. It's exactly what I need for that moment. But yeah, we're in interesting times here. But got about like 7 minutes left. I'm going to cut this off at 1:30 because, again, none of you should want to listen to me more than, honestly, 20 minutes. I don't know why you're still here listening to me at this point. So if you have any other random questions, throw them at me. At this point, though, I can kind of just keep going on streaming recommendations because, I hammered home the platform last week. I think the platform still 100%. If you haven't seen it yet, go on it. It's the best. I know some people in this chat at this point have seen the platform because I've made them and I've incessantly yelled at them, Brian. And it's just really good classism. Classism seems to be a theme that is being hit on horror movies at this point. And The Boat. Yeah. Oh, actually, good. Yeah, good call out, Ryan. The Boat's on Amazon Prime. I didn't actually see it. My friend Rob Hunter, it's one of his favorite films that he saw at, I think, Fantastic Fest 2 years ago. And he wouldn't stop talking about it. Christy Puchko, same thing. She kept talking about The Boat, and it's this very generic story and just told very well. Like, it's just called The Boat. It's people on a boat. But if you want a recommendation about, and I'm going to call out Kayla again because, she's repping good films these days. If you want a good recommendation about people on a boat and being isolated and going crazy at, let's say, cabin fever, Harpoon is available on VOD. I don't think it's streaming anywhere, but you can watch Harpoon on VOD. It's probably one of my favorite black comedies of last year. It's so funny and it's so mean and it's so nasty, which is everything I want to see in a film, and not in the way that Vivarium is, where Vivarium is mean and nasty, but it's just plodding along just to tell you that life is mean and nasty. Harpoon is in your face and aggressive and over the top about it, and that's what sells it. That's what hammers it home. So if you have a chance to watch Harpoon, big recommendation from Donato. That's going up at the top of the list. And I believe it's a Dread Central, or I think it's a Dread Presents, if not Epic Pictures. So again, you're helping indie horror, you're helping indie cinema, and I very worth the watch. We're not going out anymore. We're not spending money. Get $5 for a VOD rental. It's not hard. Give it to him. Give it to him. Give it to Harpoon. Yeah, but yeah, and even thinking about like other Amazon Prime stuff, Portrait of a Lady on Fire just went on Hulu. My God, watch that. It's what you can convey through cinema and looks, just people looking at the camera and looking at each other. Minimal dialogue, just it lights the screen up, the way that these actresses work with one another and the way that they convey these emotions through no dialogue. And there is dialogue in the film, but the way that they're able to translate their angst and anger and what they're feeling just through piercing eyes just at one another. I Portrait of a Lady on Fire, 100%. Absolutely see that. Alicia, I'm going on the Hunger Strike until the pool is available. So the pool is available on VOD. The pool is available on, I believe it's called Midnight. I'm blanking right now. It's like Midnight Cinema or Midnight something. And it's this weird little indie market that has a bunch of titles like The Pool, which for those of you that don't know, The Pool is a Thai. It's either Thai or Indonesian. I'm blanking on what it is right now, but it's about a man stuck in a pool that is now flooded. The water's gone, and he's in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. There's also a crocodile, and that's the movie. It's a man stuck in a pool with a crocodile. And when I say it is ridiculous, you don't understand how ridiculous it is. And I mean that in the best way. This movie is so nasty to its main character, and it keeps teasing him with escape, and it keeps teasing him with hope, and then it just rips him away. Like the hope is just like dangled like a little blanket, and then when he tries to grab it, just whoop, it's gone. And it happens like 50 times. And that makes the movie so damn entertaining. I can't even help it. And yeah, Ryan Larson, Villains went up on Hulu too. I love me some Villains. Villains is a fantastic little film starring Micah Monroe and a Skarsgård. And that's about all you need to know about it. The chemistry between them is they are criminals on the lam. And when I say criminals, they are very bad criminals. And when I say bad, I mean they're very bad at their job. So they are running away from a botched robbery, we'll call it. And they end up in somebody's house. They break in, they think it's empty, they think they're just gonna hide out for a little bit. And then the owners of the home come back. And yeah, Jeffrey Donovan, Keira Sedgwick are phenomenal as these like Southern charm, Southern comfort kind of homeowners who now find criminals. And it's a standoff for like a minute, maybe a minute tops. It's a standoff where they don't know what's going to happen. And then the homeowners reveal themselves to be not nice people. And it becomes the fledgling criminals, who you would assume are the bad guys, become the protagonists because they're now locked in this house with way worse people. Watch Villains. Watch Villains on Hulu. Fantastic. Absolutely love it. Alicia, can we get more Bill Skarsgård and more comedies? I agree. Can we get more Skarsgårds in general in comedies? Because War on Everyone, I believe, is available streaming on some service, and it stars Alexander Skarsgård and Michael Pena as cops who are bad at their job. Again, we're going to go back to that motif, but they're bad at their job because they are crooked cops, and they don't give a shit about what they do. They only care about themselves. And yes, that's all you need to know about War on Everyone. It's a McDonough movie. It's one of I forget which McDonough brother, I'm blanking right now, but it's that kind of biting wit in Bruges, things of that nature. And yeah, that's taken me to 1:30 at this point. I don't know how it goes this quick, but apparently it did. So yeah, I think we had about 10 people staying solid that whole time. Appreciate it. Again, this is the second run through of this, and my setup's working. The tech is good. Everything seems like it's okay. I think the audio's okay. No one's complaining about that. So yeah. Thank you guys for coming out, and I don't know. Let's maybe do this again next Sunday. I got no plans. We're all stuck here anyway. Let's hang out. Thank y'all.